The reports Robert bought was stolen from an MI6 agent who was killed for it.
Pierce Brosnan's life reads like a film script. A boy abandoned in Ireland who rose to become one of Hollywood's most charming leading men, only to face heartbreaks that no fame could soften. Known to the world as James Bond, he lived out every man's fantasy on screen while privately enduring unimaginable loss. Behind the tuxedo and the charm lies a story of resilience, love, and survival. His journey from loneliness to international stardom and from devastating grief to renewed faith shows a man who has faced tragedy not with bitterness, but with grace, turning pain into purpose and finding meaning beyond fame. A childhood of absence and survival, born May 16, 1953, in Drogheda, Ireland, Pierce Brosnan's earliest memories were shaped by absence. His father vanished before he could remember him, and at 4, his mother left for London to find work. He was passed between relatives, learning early how to adapt and observe. In those quiet, lonely years, he developed a deep imagination, his escape from instability. When he finally reunited with his mother years later, she had remarried, and he struggled to fit into a family again. The boy who had never belonged anywhere found comfort in solitude. That sense of dislocation never left him, but it became the emotional fuel that later powered his performances. For a child raised by distance, the screen would one day become the place where he could finally connect with the world, discovering inspiration in the shadow of James Bond. In 1964, his stepfather took him to see Goldfinger. Watching Sean Connery glide across the screen, confident and untouchable, young Pierce felt something click. Bond represented everything he wasn't: strong, certain, admired. From that night, the idea of transformation took root. Though he first pursued art at St. Martin's School of Art, painting to survive on toast and tea, fate intervened when he stumbled into a theatre workshop. A single act, trying out fire eating, sparked a passion for performance. He discovered that acting gave him what childhood hadn't: identity and control. The shy Irish boy who had once hidden behind silence was learning to command attention, becoming an actor. Against all odds, Pierce trained rigorously at the Drama Centre London from 1973 to 1976, enduring an environment so intense many quit. He juggled side jobs, studied Shakespeare, and even trained in mime and circus acts to master his craft. His early stage work in Wait Until Dark and The Red Devil Battery Sign revealed a rare mix of vulnerability and steel. Critics noticed his unsettling charisma, a quality that later defined his film persona. By the late 1970s, he began earning minor film roles alongside legends like Elizabeth Taylor and Bob Hoskins. Though fleeting, those moments were enough to signal that a star was forming. Each small part chipped away at anonymity, building toward the role that would change everything: Remington Steele and the making of a star. In 1982, NBC took a chance on an unknown Irishman to headline a quirky detective series called Remington Steele. The risk paid off. His effortless charm, sharp humour, and quiet magnetism turned the show into a global hit. Overnight, he became television's suavest leading man, and whispers began. He looked like the next James Bond. Even Ian Fleming's widow said he embodied her late husband's vision. Fame, however, came with traps. Contract disputes later blocked him from accepting the Bond role when it was first offered. He watched the chance of a lifetime slip away, learning that in Hollywood, timing can be cruel. Still, Remington Steele made him a household name and polished the screen persona that would one day redefine 007. Love, family, and the heartbreak of Cassandra Harris. Before Bond, there was Cassandra Harris, the love of his life. A striking Australian actress and mother of 2, she met Pierce in the late 1970s, and their bond was instant. He adopted her children, Charlotte and Christopher, giving them the stability he never had. Together, they built a family filled with warmth and laughter, welcoming a son, Sean, in 1983. But in 1987, their world collapsed when Cassandra was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, the same disease that had taken her mother. For 4 brutal years, Pierce stood by her through surgeries and chemo, often helpless but never absent. When she died in 1991 at 43, she left behind not just grief, but an enduring influence. Pierce later said, "She made me the man I am." That loss scarred him and shaped the emotional depth he would bring to every role thereafter. Becoming Bond, triumph and tragedy, intertwined. When Pierce finally became James Bond in 1994, it was more than career fulfillment. It was the dream Cassandra had once believed in for him. GoldenEye, 1995, resurrected the franchise, grossing $353 million worldwide and re-establishing Bond for a new generation. Brosnan's mix of elegance and emotional edge was fresh, human, yet behind the stunts and swagger lay unhealed wounds. Each of his 4 Bond films, from Tomorrow Never Dies to Die Another Day, carried pieces of his private grief. Even at the height of fame, he remained haunted by loss, channeling it into performances that balanced strength with sadness. To millions, he was the ultimate spy. To himself, he was still that Irish boy searching for belonging. Losing Bond, finding love again. In 2004, after 4 blockbuster films that earned over $1.4 billion, Brosnan was abruptly dismissed from the role that had defined him. The call lasted less than a minute. The studio wanted a younger Bond. It shattered him. His asking price plummeted, depression followed. Yet years earlier, fate had given him something priceless. Keely Shea Smith, the journalist he'd met in 1994. She saw the man, not the movie star. They married in 2001 in a small Irish abbey, surrounded by friends and laughter. When Hollywood turned cold, Keely became his anchor. Together they raised 2 sons, Dylan and Paris. She helped him rebuild confidence, reminding him that life was larger than a franchise. Losing Bond, he later said, taught him humility and showed him what real love endures. A curse repeats the death of Charlotte. In 2013, tragedy struck again. His daughter Charlotte, the child he had adopted and raised as his own, died of the same ovarian cancer that took her mother and grandmother. She was 41. Watching her fade reignited every nightmare he thought he had survived. At a cancer fundraiser the next year, Pierce spoke through tears. "I held the hand of my first wife, Cassie, as cancer took her life, and just last year I held the hand of my daughter, Charlotte." It was grief layered upon grief, a family curse that refused to break. Yet even in devastation, he turned pain into advocacy, championing cancer awareness and early testing. His courage in speaking out made millions see that heroes exist off-screen too, in fathers who keep loving despite unbearable loss. Faith, resilience, and the man beyond the myth. Through fame, heartbreak, and rebirth, Pierce Brosnan remains grounded by faith. A lifelong Catholic, he often says that belief is what carried him through loss. Today, at 71, he focuses on art, philanthropy, and family, painting again, his first love, and cherishing quiet life with Keely in Hawaii. He has learned that strength isn't found in denying pain, but in surviving it. The man once defined by James Bond is now defined by grace. Pierce's story is not about glamour or success. It's about endurance, forgiveness, and love that transcends death. He has faced what every spy avoids, vulnerability, and in doing so, has become something greater than a cinematic legend, a testament to the power of faith and the resilience of the human spirit.